we've kind of been taking it just sort of as gospel that the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson with the number 2 overall pick. We've all kind of just we've pointed all of our arrows there. Darnold, we feel like that's okay. That's going to be trade bait. We're all feel pretty confident about that now, as confident as we maybe ever felt. And all things look like they're pointing to Zach Wilson. And, I think that that's a fair take. The Jets have done absolutely nothing to dispel that. They haven't really talked about anything, quite frankly. They're not doing anything publicly. But I was watching the Fields Pro Day yesterday, and you're watching Mac Jones throw for the second time, and it just sort of floated through my mind. Can we be absolutely certain that Douglas doesn't have a surprise for us with the number 2 overall pick? And the reason why I'm saying that is because of a few things, mostly because of the San Francisco 49ers. 2 things we know. The 49ers and the Jets are going to be running very similar offenses next year, if not basically the same offense. The 49ers obviously don't think that Zach Wilson is the only quarterback in this draft that can run that offense. Because not only they're seriously scouting Justin Fields and Mac Jones, they had big presence in both of the pro days yesterday. But if you trade 2 future first-round picks and a third, obviously you're doing that for a quarterback. You're not getting your first or second choice, yet you still paid a king's ransom. They see this as a very deep class. We know that the 49ers never called the Jets to even inquire about 2, at least that's the reporting. And we believe that's because they knew that the Jets are going to be taking Wilson, so why bother making the call? But is it possible? Can we say without a shadow of a doubt that Douglas, Saleh, Mike LaFleur are still either making their decisions and could maybe be swayed at this point of the game, or the fact that just like the 49ers believe that there is another quarterback beyond obviously Trevor Lawrence going to Jacksonville, but beyond Zach Wilson, who would be able to run this offense at the franchise quarterback level. If we believe, and we know the 49ers think that, why wouldn't we believe that the Jets could possibly think it's another guy who could run this offense, whether it's Fields and his athleticism. I know Wilson is super athletic also, but Fields with his athleticism, his longer track record against better competition, or Mac Jones, who I think most believe has actually the highest floor of all of the quarterbacks and could be the most pro-ready. And the Jets are going to have a quarterback that's going to step in day one and have to be ready to go. So I get the Zach Wilson love. I get why it seems like everything is pointing there, but are we sure beyond a shadow of a doubt that they couldn't have their eye on Fields or Mac Jones? Can't say that.
Well, I mean, I don't think they do. I mean, just because the 49ers believe it's, say, a 3-quarterback draft, or they'd be happy to look at that third quarterback, does that necessarily mean the Jets believe that?
That's what I'm asking.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
No, I mean, the answer, but I mean, the common belief around the National Football League is that, Zach Wilson is going to go to the Jets with the 2nd overall pick, to the point where the 49ers didn't even call the Jets. So, I mean, at this stage, there are a lot of guys that fall in love with a lot of different players, regardless of position. So it's not an insult if you look at if you're San Francisco and you say it's a 3-quarterback draft or a 4-quarterback draft or all 5 quarterbacks that we've talked about here that have been bantied about being first-round draft choices, that they could all play in the National Football League and they all could play very, very well. But the Jets are in the position of drafting the 2nd-best quarterback according to their board, right behind Trevor Lawrence, with that 2nd overall draft choice. So the point is what? That there's more than just Wilson and Lawrence? That's fair, and I
Well, the point is they
traded
a king's ransom to get a guy that's not Lawrence or maybe even Wilson. And so do we believe that perhaps Douglas thinks that there's a better quarterback to run this offense, or Saleh or Mike LaFleur, that's not Zach Wilson?
Yeah, well, I mean, but if you are San Francisco, but it works a couple different ways. Like the messaging is that the NFL believes the Jets are drafting 2nd overall and going to draft Zach Wilson and are not trading out to the pick, to the point where the 49ers don't even, according to Costello, don't even call the Jets about the 2nd overall pick. They just go to the 3rd overall pick in the Miami Dolphins. Okay, fair. doesn't necessarily mean that Mac Jones or Trey Lance or Fields is going to be better than Zach Wilson running this offense. It means it's another option to run this offense. I mean, I don't know if you'll get the complete truth serum from John Lynch and the San Francisco 49ers that, that they view Mac Jones or Trey Lance or anybody better than Wilson. So could there be other quarterbacks that could run this offense? Robert Saleh basically said that the town idiot could run the offense when he got introduced as head coach of the Jets, that it makes quarterbacks look really good. It makes their job very, very easy. So you can make the argument that the Jets don't even have to draft a quarterback, that they should just keep with Sam Darnold. I mean, if you're going to go along that logic, but you look at the skill set of Jones, how bright he is. You look at the athleticism of Lance. You look at the pro day that Fields put on yesterday. Yeah, I mean, they want an athletic quarterback that can make throws, that the decision-making is going to be simplified in this offense. They obviously want to try and run the football. They're going to put a emphasis on speed, that zone-blocking offensive line up front. There are a lot of things that kind of go part and parcel with the Shanahan-LaFleur type of offense that is coming here to New York with the Jets. So are you going to make the argument that there's more than one quarterback? But the question is, who's the most talented quarterback? Because that's where the Jets are. You can find a different way. The Jets don't have to have if they didn't have the second overall pick, they could still address the quarterback position and find someone to play this offense. Would it be as good as what Zach Wilson potentially could be? Because I think there is a differentiation between, say, Wilson and Mac Jones, Wilson and Fields, Wilson and Trey Lance, according to most scouts that look at it. I know Chris Sims likes Zach Wilson more than Trevor Lawrence. That's more of an outlier than anything else, because I think if you talk to most NFL teams, Trevor Lawrence is still clearing away the best quarterback prospect in this draft, and it's not really close. So Wilson put on a show Friday. Fields put on a show yesterday. Just because the 49ers believe that they can get a quarterback to play their system, you also have to throw into the fact that next year's quarterback class in the National Football League is expected to not be overly strong in next year's NFL draft. When you look at the college quarterbacks that are going to be available, that does factor in to go along with if you're San Francisco and you're not married to Jimmy Garoppolo long term. So that does, when you're John Lynch and the 49ers, you're not only looking at the here and now, because they convinced ownership that they want to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, whether you believe it or not. That's what they're spilling and saying right now. They want to draft a quarterback third overall. Next year's quarterback class and crop is not going to be particularly strong. You're not married to Jimmy Garoppolo long term. Therefore, if you're the 49ers, you want to make a play for a long-term quarterback in the here and now, because your options are going to be limited next year and beyond.
I know, but the one thing about that is I felt like we were talking about this draft class not long ago, and it was Trevor Lawrence and then a bunch of just the guys, right? And now
Fields was thought of. I mean, Trey Lance you've heard about for 2 years.
No, but it was going to be Lawrence and then a huge drop and then all the other quarterbacks. And that has really changed over the last few weeks, because now you have Wilson, you have Fields, you have Mac Jones, you have Lance, you have quarterbacks that go 1, 2, 3, 4 for the first time in NFL history. Like, the thought on this draft class has changed so much in a relatively short amount of time. I think year over year, like, guys emerge and quarterback prospects get hyped, and they always find a way to push themselves up to the top of the class. So I wouldn't be so worried about next year. I just wonder, like, we've talked about this with Wilson. Yes, well thought of for sure. But he's also really benefited here, and I'm not taking this away from him. This is just a fact. He has benefited from the hype machine. No doubt. And you know what? Good for you, right? He had a good season last year. He's completing 73% of his passes, but he's doing it against competition that's not great. And he's got a hype machine now behind him because of his highlights are phenomenal, and because of how he's earned it. But there's no doubt that there is a hype around him that didn't exist.
But
even
when you
2
say
months
hype
ago.
machine, I think fraudulent. Do you think
No,
Zach
no,
Wilson's
no.
a
I'm just
fraud?
saying he's getting a boost. Not fraud. I never said that.
No, but when I think
He's
about
getting
hype
the
machine,
glow.
I think about somebody that's getting hyped up that doesn't deserve to get hyped up. I don't think that's the case.
He's getting the glow
I don't
in
think
this, in this draft class.
Well, I think he's getting the glow because based on what he put on game tape. I mean,
Right, but
I
you
think
have
he's getting the
Fields
glow
and
based
Mac
on what he
Jones
did
who
in
are
the
playing in
regular
the college-
season. What he did in the regular season for BYU. I think there's a lot to like about what Wilson is as a potential quarterback in the modern NFL in 2021. What he can do throwing from different positions, different arm angles. He's got a really, really good arm. He is athletic. Yes, he's not 6'4", 6'5" like Trevor Lawrence coming out of Clemson, but I don't think Zach Wilson is kind of a puffed up quarterback prospect. I think he's real. I think he's legit. I think you can clearly have concerns about what competition he went up against during the regular season. Some of those YOLO throws, as we talked about with Matt Miller, who's another very, very good scout on social media, and you see him on ESPN as well when he joined the program, and he said, well, some of those YOLO throws they made at BYU, they're going to turn into interceptions. I would like to see what those kind of throws would have looked like if he was playing against stiff competition in the SEC. Fair. I mean, so that is a fair criticism of whether his game and his style is going to translate, and some of the throws that he was able to complete at BYU based on the competition that he went up against. Will he be able to make those throws and make those completions, or will they turn into interceptions and bad throws in the National Football League? That is fair. See, you look at Wilson and Mac Jones. They've been the high risers. Fields has been well thought of for quite some time. Trey Lance has been talked about for quite some time. And this has always been the draft, if he declared that it was going to be all about Trevor Lawrence going, first overall. We've been talking about that for 3 years. So if you're the Jets and you're sitting there with the second overall pick, I think you can't factor in what any other team is thinking or whatever any other team is looking at. You have an opportunity. The question really boils down to whether or not you believe that one of these quarterbacks is going to be significantly better than what you have in Sam Darnold, reset the clock, don't have to worry about paying Sam Darnold, picking up that option in early May, and that you start anew with Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, and a new coaching staff led by Mike LaFleur as your offensive coordinator. If all of that, connects, then you're drafting whatever quarterback prospect, and right now it looks to be Zach Wilson with the second overall pick.
Right, and I'm saying that Justin Fields has a lot of those same qualities that you would ascribe to Zach Wilson in terms of being athletic, throwing on the run, different arm angles, did it on a bigger stage, did it against better competition, and working with the same quarterback coach that Zach Wilson is working with, and yet is not, when I say the hype machine, Zach Wilson's getting the glow up right now, right? He's the guy who's getting a lot of the shine, and I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve it, but he is the beneficiary of the hype machine right now, and it's not so much Justin Fields. It's not as much Mac Jones, although Mac Jones obviously has definitely shot up draft boards also. So what I'm saying about that is there is maybe it's not such a slam dunk here that it is going to be Wilson second overall. Maybe Joe Douglas does have a surprise in store for us. Listen, it was only 2018 where, remember, it was late in the day that the news broke, essentially, that the Cleveland Browns were going to end up taking Baker Mayfield and not Sam Darnold, right? That came down almost to the wire just a few hours before the draft. Is it possible that there's another surprise like that? And in this draft, the surprise would be the Jets not taking Wilson at this point.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. Anything's possible. So to say that it's not a possibility would be foolish. I'd be surprised because, and listen, pro days are pro days. So you're going to look at Mac Jones' pro day, Fields' pro day, Trey Lance's pro day, Zach Wilson's pro day, Trevor Lawrence before he had the shoulder surgery on his non-throwing shoulder pro day a number of weeks back down at Clemson. I mean, they are what they are. So the whole idea that now all of a sudden, I mean, that you're going to look at, they've gotten – you're going to look at Fields' pro day yesterday at Ohio State and say, well, now I'm going to fall in love with Josh Fields because he's making throws, or Justin Fields because he's making throws in his shorts out in Columbus. And it was an impressive pro day, no doubt.
Just like Wilson.
And Zach Wilson's pro day was impressive nonetheless. If you watch the game film, though, on Fields at Ohio State, there are more concerns about the throws that he misses and the receivers and guys that he does not see on game film than there is about Zach Wilson. Now, the competition for Fields is better at Ohio State than it was for Wilson at BYU. And that's why I said yesterday when you look at Fields, yes, he put on an impressive pro day. He did what he needed to do to reassert himself into this competition, along with Mac Jones, Wilson, Trey Lance, and not necessarily so much with Trevor Lawrence. But do I think now all of a sudden that's going to change the opinion? I don't. I personally do not.
Well, we just don't know if the opinion could have been someone other than Zach Wilson this whole time. Again, the Jets haven't leaned one way or another. All we know is that it looks like they're going to take somebody with that second overall pick. That's basically all we know, that they haven't traded out of it to this point. Beyond that,
you do have inklings. You do have inklings.
But we don't know.
I mean, because if the Philadelphia Eagles believe that they can't go to 3 to get Zach Wilson, then the NFL wholeheartedly believes, from everybody believes the Jets are taking Zach Wilson second overall.
Yeah, but don't also forget, Moose, Peter King's column from Monday. No, I know, but Peter King's column from Monday. Now, this could just be a little backpedaling here by the Philadelphia Eagles, but they did express the concern that not just that they couldn't trade up in the way they wanted to, but one of the reasons why they did decide to trade back was because they felt like they couldn't do their full due diligence scouting quarterbacks this year because of the pandemic. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. So,
well, that's on the Eagle. I mean, but that's on the Eagles. I mean, that's a poor scouting staff. If I were the Eagles, if I were an Eagle fan, I'd be ticked off by that comment if I'm going to use that as an excuse, because that can't be used as an excuse to not be able to do your due diligence when there's plenty of game film out there. You can still have Zoom meetings. There's pro days out there. That's more of a knock on the brand of the Philadelphia Eagles and the way their organization is run than being a true excuse about why not being able to move up.